Star Wars was always a franchise I was fond of. But by the time I got to Andor, all the other Star Wars shows, similar to Marvel, just lost my interest over time. But I distinctly remember watching the ending scene of episode 3 of Andor as Cassian is on that ship out of Ferrix, that I knew that Star Wars had something special, Tony Gilroy had something special, and as season 1 progressed, that was the case. I fell in love with the characters, the plot was well written, and it just became one of my most favorite media. I think it was one of the best television shows that this decade offers. And that coming from Star Wars, that surprised me quite a bit. And it was a long 2.5-year wait to get to this point. But by the time Andor Season 2 came out, I was hyped. So today I'm going to be talking about episode 1 through 3, BBY 4 years before Cassian Andor's demise. And yeah, this is going to be a spoiler review, so if you haven't watched the first 3 episodes, don't watch this. There's 4 distinct plot lines that this arc covers. Number 1 is Cassian as he's going out of Sienar, I think, into Yavin 4. Number 2 is all the action that happens in Mineral, the farming planet where most of the team from Ferrix is at. And then the third plot line is the ISB works. It's a security council, and where Krennic is introduced into the conversation. He talks about Gorman. And then Dedra Miro is obviously the character that we follow. And then Cyril is also involved in this plot line. And then finally, the fourth plot line is all the action that happens in Chandrila, Mon Mothma's home planet. So, starting from my overall thoughts, I really liked this arc. I feel like the plot lines weren't as interesting as the ones we followed, like the Aldhani heist or the prison escape. But overall, I think this is a solid start, much better than the opening arc of Season 1. The action is there, the emotions are there, but we're going to talk more specifics. But first, we're going to talk about Cassian's plot line. So right from the opening scene, I think what we see in the season the most is how the scale is bigger. The production feels more expensive, but unlike the Acolyte, every piece of sets, costumes, and all these other works, they all feel more lived in. They don't feel artificial. They don't feel like, oh yeah, where's the money? Where did the money go? Because that's how I felt with the Acolyte for a majority of the time, but not with this show, because right from the opening moment of this episode, I'm instantly hooked. The set looks gorgeous. The white, the black, they all correspond with each other. You instantly get into this world of the Empire. And then what I like the most about these time jumps that we have with each 3 episodes, obviously we would have wanted more seasons of Andor, but for logistical purposes, this is how it went. But I think Tony Gilroy really understood that these time jumps are more interesting if you show, not tell. And that's what Andor does well. And I think that's what these time jumps amplify. Because from the first scene, we know the growth that Cassian has gone through as he's talking to this woman about joining the rebellion, helping him steal his TIE Avenger. And Cassian's speech, the writing is exceptionally done because it shows the growth and the belief Cassian has towards the rebellion, but it also shows already that he's gonna lie to this woman about and make this rebellion seem like this rosy outcome, even though there's also pitfalls that come with that. And you can just see Cassian's growth as a leader. He's not fully invested in the rebellion like we see him in Rogue One, but you can see the seeds for that. And I think that's what the first scene just does well. And the action sequence, this season definitely feels more Star Wars-y. First season didn't really feel like that. That wasn't a bad thing, but I just think it also, elevates the show more because it's both a great Star Wars show, but it's just also a great show. And a lot of people have trouble distinguishing that, but I think Andor does a really good job of making sure you know that this is Star Wars and this is a good show. But then when Cassian reaches the jungle planet, which is later revealed as Yavin 4, I could see where Tony Gilroy was going, how he wanted to show the rebels are lost, like Saw Gerrera says, and to show the chaos and the youthful, the immature nature of rebellion now, and I think that's what they were going for. But the Jungle Planet just seemed a little too campy. It didn't really fit in with Andor's tone. It was a tone of whiplash for me personally. And after the first episode, I was just like, yeah, I got the message. Let's get Cassian out of this jungle. We have 12 episodes with him. We have 4 years to cover, lots of ground. Let's get our main actor out of this jungle. But they're just constantly there. Some of the acting also feels weak. We can see what they're going for. It's supposed to be this humorous nature that shows, once again, the immaturity of the rebellion. But honestly, it just wasn't that compelling. I could see what they were going for, but it just wasn't awfully interesting for me. And I was just glad when Cassian was out. And that's why episode 2, as usual with Andor's 3 arc structure, the middle episode was the slowest. And that was partially because of the Jungle Planet. Yeah, Force Reveal was good, but overall, it was just eh. Plot B, meanwhile, this arc just solidified immediately the clever nature of Tony Gilroy's writing. Like, undocumented workers on this farming planet, it hits too close to home. And also what Bix goes through in this felt mature, well-developed. I've seen a lot of channels out there that are saying that what Bix goes through towards the end of episode 3, it's just not for Star Wars, that it just didn't belong in Star Wars. And I disagree with that, because this shows how cruel and how brutal and how messed up the Empire is. And it's not just showing that in some standard stormtrooper action. It's not showing that through the perils the rebels go through. It's not showing that through the Death Star. All of those are part of Star Wars, but we also need to this scene also shows the more brutal and unjust nature of the Empire, and it hammers it home, and it never says that this is a good thing. We clearly know this is a bad thing, so I don't know where these criticisms are coming from. I could see why people think that, but I think this is the proper place to tell the oppressive nature of the Empire. And I thought this scene was handled maturely. It wasn't just a one-and-done thing. It was handled well. It was well-written, and yeah, I thought it was well handled. And obviously what happens here at the end of episode 3 is Brasso's death. And what Andor does so well is that we don't have this dramatic final speech. We don't have this cry for desperation. People just die. And that's how war works. People just get shot down, and your allies, just comrades, they all fall down. And they just handle that in such a mature way. It doesn't feel like we're sidelighting the death. It doesn't feel like we're de-emphasizing it, but it's emphasized enough that we don't have to have always this dramatic, bombastic score in the background and this dramatic speech. We don't have that. We just have this death that happens, and stormtroopers can actually aim. And yeah, Brasso's death hit me hard. Diego Luna and all the actors and actresses just created this beautiful performance that happens after Brasso's death. I really wish B2 was also on the ship, but I don't know what's going to happen with him, if he's going to get sidelined or not. Maybe he might just be in the farming planet for all we know, and that would just be a sad occasion for all the Andor fans. Third plotline, ISB, Krennic's scene that they have at that big, I forgot what planet it was on, the big snow laboratory. That was very clearly drawing comparisons to all the evil Nazi conferences that were happening during World War II. I read some interviews about that. I could tell the work was in there. Krennic is just amazing as always. Ben Mendelsohn is exceptional because Krennic has this ego, this sense of trying to put his superiority, his sense of superiority over others. And it's just kind of goofy. Like, and he has a cape, but it doesn't have a tonal whiplash like the Jungle plotline with this. I thought it was handled well. Them talking about Gorman planting seeds for that plotline later, and Dedra saying that there must be insurgency. There's just so much political stuff. There's so much juicy plot lines that are happening with this that I just think interesting. All the ISB security plot lines, some people say it's slow, some people say it's boring. No, I think it's very compelling. And once again, we see more of what happens in the inner workings of the Empire. And the dinner scene with Cyril, that did not feel like tonal whiplash like the Jungle. That felt, it was a moment of levity for us Andor fans. It was relatable. Edie is just genuinely terrifying, and Cyril and Dedra having this twisted romance was just fun to watch on the screen. And the dinner scene was I think it was one of the most memorable scenes I had in Star Wars for a long time. It was just clever. It was meme worthy, and yeah, it just had all the right things to go with. Last plotline, I think, is the best one. Mon Mothma's time in Shandrilla. Shandrilla is really where I think there's going to be a push for costume design for a potential Emmy. The sets are gorgeous. The costumes are gorgeous. The acting that comes with there. The first one shot that we have as we follow Mon Mothma and we get introduced to the rest of the supporting cast. Luthen, Vel, Clea, Tay Koma, Davos Squadron. As they're all being introduced with the one shot, I was like, yeah, this is great filmmaking. And the plot, I think, is the most well-written here. You can see Mothma's struggles as she puts her daughter. She sacrifices her daughter to this marriage. She sacrifices her friend, which, by the way, Tay Koma's transformation, because I really believed him as a trusted ally. I really trusted him in Season 1. And to see him turn like this in Season 2 was genuinely shocking. I personally thought it was more shocking than Brasso's death. And it doesn't feel like that never was the direction the character was. It doesn't feel out of place. It just feels like natural progression. And as Luthen says, people fail. That's our curse. And the conversations Mothma has with Luthen as she has to essentially send a kill order to kill Tay Koma because he's a liability to the rebellion. And it shows also how Luthen is keeping Mothma as this site of importance because that's how important she is to the rebellion right now. And yeah, all the struggles eventually that culminates into this dance sequence that's a remix of Niemos. It was probably a top 5 Star Wars moment for me, if not top 3. It was so well done. The music and the struggles, and Genevieve O'Reilly just puts in an Emmy-worthy performance there as she's dancing off and trying to forget that she's sacrificing her daughter, that she's sacrificing a friend for this rebellion, and the tragedies that happen with that. And it was just beautifully shot. It was wonderfully made, and it was well executed. So yeah, overall, this arc feels much bigger than Andor Season 1, but it doesn't feel out of place. It feels like all the money was spent in the right place. We really get to starting to see the big picture of the rebellion. And I also think these time jumps, I mean, sure, I really do want more from each episode. I really felt this season could have been 5 seasons, and it could have just been almost a Game of Thrones level of television. That might be an exaggeration, but I genuinely believe that if this show had more seasons, it would have been even better built up. And it's unfortunate, but the time jumps here are handled cleverly. I'm fine with it. The acting, the performances, all the technical aspects that happen with the show, the writing, it's all incredible. Yeah, one of the few criticisms I had with is obviously the jungle plotline, but I also feel like, once again, this episode didn't have some of the highs that maybe Season 1 had. It's more consistently good, maybe not some of the highs that Season 1 had. I just thought the Aldani plot was more compelling than whatever happened on Mineral, even Shrandrilla with the wedding plotline, but I think we have room to build. The Gorman plotline is obviously a big thing. These first 3 episodes were a good start, and I was really excited for episode 4 to 6. Review for that will come up soon. I will also talk about Thunderbolt's post-credit scene, and I will also put immediate reaction and reviews, full reviews that I'm going to be caught up with episode 7 through 9, and then after that, episode 10 through 12. Please like, subscribe, turn notifications on, and yeah, keep watching Andor. It's a great show.